Dorian gaining strength, turning back into a major Category 3 storm, lashing the Carolinas with tropical storm force winds. Threats of tornadoes and flooding in the heart of Charleston. Now the concerns about life-threatening storm surge as the death toll climbs in the Bahamas. The race to evacuate survivors and relief as families find their loved ones. Our team is right there.
Also this morning, President Trump facing new questions over his false hurricane forecast that he tried to defend with an altered map. This as former Vice President Joe Biden takes on his own gaffes.
Are you going nuts?
What did he say about Michelle Obama?
Chaos overseas. The British government in turmoil. The new prime minister facing a revolt over Brexit. Why it all could threaten our own economy.
New arrest. The estranged husband of that missing Connecticut mother of 5 is now facing new charges. What investigators now say they found in his co-worker's car.
Speaking out, Scarlett Johansson under fire, why Hollywood's highest paid actress and Time's Up advocate is coming to the defense of Woody Allen.
And the all-out search right now for the undercover hero who captured this proposal on camera, then disappeared. The video now getting more than 5 million views. Can you help the happy couple find her?
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
And we do say good morning to America, and we appreciate you starting your Thursday morning with us. We're all watching Hurricane Dorian getting stronger again overnight. It seems like this storm just won't go away.
Oh, yeah. The terrible storm caused so much devastation in the Bahamas. Now it's lashing the South Carolina coast with powerful winds and heavy rains. And you can take a live look at Charleston, you saw there, as the storm moves in.
And that's the satellite you're seeing right now. Dorian hugging the southeast coast, moving north, bringing a dangerous storm surge threat with it.
The hurricane is now a Category 3 storm packing 115-mile-per-hour winds. And it's bringing tornadoes with it. There have been multiple warnings all morning long. In fact, one twister touched down near Ginger, and she's starting us off from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. How's it going there, Ginger? Good morning.
Robin, a tense morning this morning, certainly around Myrtle Beach. There are tornado warnings just to my northeast by 5 miles. So we have places to go if we need to get indoors. I'm half expecting to look behind me and see a water spout, because that's what can happen when these outer bands are ripping across the ocean and coming on shore. So there's a lot that's going on this morning. Let's go straight to the radar and satellite put together. We're not only in the tornado watch, we're in a flash flood warning. Charleston is too. A lot of lightning on the radar in those outer bands, and this deal, Hurricane Dorian, is still a Category 3, max sustained winds at 115 miles per hour. It is moving north at 7 miles per hour. It's about 80 miles south-southeast of Charleston, but look how close it's going to get to us here in Myrtle Beach. High tide later this afternoon with 5 to even 8 feet of storm surge. We've already seen flooding in the streets, so I know that's going to be a problem. Wilmington over to Hatteras, it remains a Category 2. We could even see a landfall in the Outer Banks. And then it's still a 1 by Saturday, and so they put up tropical storm watches for parts of Virginia, Maryland, and even Nantucket as this thing passes out in the ocean. So let's go ahead and time it out for you. Very important here. The winds are going to pick up not just here today and gust somewhere close to 70 already in Charleston, but same thing. Look at Wilmington and Topsail Beach by tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, near 90 as that eye gets so close. And then it passes by a lot of the Cape, seeing 84. Look at 52 Ocean City. We may even see gusts to 60 in Nantucket this weekend. George.
Okay, Ginger, thanks. As Ginger just said, there's a flash flood warning for Charleston, South Carolina right now. The streets were flooded there overnight, so we want to go right to Steve Osunsami, who's in Charleston with the latest. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, George. We saw some of the highest winds just after midnight. It is raining heavily right now, and this is expected to continue throughout the day. Some of those wind gusts brought down tree limbs, which knocked out power to many of the people here downtown. We have a number of streets that are flooded. More than 50 streets are flooded. And at the airport, they're reporting wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Hurricane Dorian is now bringing high winds and flooding rains to the Carolinas, a Category 3 storm just off the coast and too close for any comfort whatsoever. These downtown streets in Charleston are underwater. The storm poured more than 4 inches of rain here overnight, along with up to 8 feet of tide and storm surge. Authorities have been warning residents to stay off the roads, and some are using kayaks instead of cars. The storm moved in the dark of the night and at the worst possible time, right before high tide. Authorities had to close more than a dozen flooded streets.
It is the water that is the real danger.
They're asking people who chose not to leave to stay indoors. At the center of the storm, winds are near 115 miles an hour with higher wind gusts. Inland, more than 100,000 people are in the dark after tree limbs came crashing down and power lines snapped and sparked. In North Carolina, tornado watches are in effect, and families trying to make a last-minute run are scrambling.
I'm all boarded up and packed, and so I'm on my way.
Business owners along the Cape Fear River in Wilmington aren't taking any chances, remembering the devastating flooding caused by the storm surge during Hurricane Florence last September.
So when that high tide hits and the storm comes through, we're expecting some pretty high tide surges here.
There are, of course, many people who chose not to listen to those evacuation orders who are in their homes today, and authorities are telling them to stay there. They're also warning residents who stayed, telling them that they should not call 911 unless their lives depend on it, because they don't want first responders out in this today. Michael.
All right, thank you. So dangerous for everybody. Thank you so much, Steve. And this morning, we're seeing new images of Dorian's devastation across the Bahamas as the death toll climbs. At least 20 people there are killed by the storm. Now rescue crews are trying to evacuate and find survivors still trapped by the floodwaters. Marcus Moore is in Nassau with the latest. Good morning, Marcus.
Michael, good morning. The Minister of National Security told us overnight that they will be wrapping up their search and rescue efforts today as more resources have arrived, and they're also able to reach areas that have been cut off. This morning, an urgent rescue and relief efforts underway. With so much devastation, so many displaced, the task is overwhelming. The death toll from Dorian now at 20, but officials expect that number to climb.
Our response will be day and night, day after day, week after week, month after month, until the lives of our people return to some degree of normalcy.
A race against time to get people much-needed food, water, and medical attention.
The important thing is to do good triage, so we have to sort the patients to take the sickest ones out first.
The U.S. Coast Guard helping to rescue and evacuate survivors. At least 200 people here have been reported missing and thousands more displaced.
The devastation is unimaginable. So many people now homeless as a result of it.
In the midst of so much uncertainty and heartache here, an emotional reunion. Family members separated on Abaco Island when the storm hit. This tearful scene of a young boy from Abaco reunited with his family. It's now been 4 days since the Category 5 hurricane made its direct hit on the island nation with 185-mile-per-hour winds and a storm surge up to 20 feet.
We're on the third floor, and the water is pouring through the door.
New drone footage capturing the magnitude of the catastrophe. Widespread devastation as far as the eye can see. Planes and a boat pushed onto the roadway, and where homes once stood, now appearing as a wasteland. And we are told that there is work underway to find shelter for the hundreds of people we saw inside the medical clinic in Marsh Harbor. They have nowhere to go, and they represent the growing humanitarian crisis on the Abaco Islands. George.
What a crisis it is. Okay, Marcus, thanks very much. We're going to go to the White House now, where President Trump is facing new questions over that false hurricane forecast he sent to his Twitter followers. In the Oval Office yesterday, he tried to defend the tweet with an official map that had been falsified with a handwritten mark. Our senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega has the story. Good morning, Cecilia.
George, good morning to you. The president is not letting this one go. He is still insisting that Alabama was in Dorian's danger zone, even though the National Weather Service publicly contradicted him on that.
Call it Mapgate 2019. The question this morning, did President Trump show a doctored map hoping to prove he was right when he warned Hurricane Dorian would hit Alabama? The president displaying that map in the Oval Office.
That was the original chart, and you see it was going to hit not only Florida, but Georgia. It could have was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected, and it took a right turn.
Take a closer look. The black line projecting that Dorian would move from Florida to Alabama appears to be drawn on by a marker. Here's the original, issued last Thursday by the National Hurricane Center. Alabama in the clear. President Trump has repeatedly insisted Alabama was in Dorian's path.
Alabama could even be in for at least some very strong winds and something more than that.
The National Weather Service even forced to correct him, saying Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. But he's still not backing down.
I know that Alabama was in the original forecast, but Alabama was hit very hard and was going to be hit very hard along with Georgia.
Now FEMA and NOAA referring all questions about the seemingly doctored map back to the White House, where President Trump said he knew nothing about it.
And that map that you showed us today looked like it almost had like a Sharpie.
I don't know.
Overnight, the president digging in, releasing yet another map showing Dorian projected to hit Alabama. This one from a regional water agency in South Florida, with the warning, if anything on this graphic causes confusion, ignore the entire product.
So it's not just the president digging in this morning. His aides here at the White House are following his lead as well. One spokesman tweeting, watching the media go ballistic over a black Sharpie mark on a map would be hilarious if it weren't so sad. So, George, it seems the strategy here is once again, when all else fails, blame the media.
That is what we have seen. Cecilia Vega, thanks very much, Robin.
Okay, George, now to the race for 2020. Overnight, former VP Joe Biden hitting late night TV, pushing back on questions about his gaffes. Mary Bruce is in Washington with more on that. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Robin. Well, in his first appearance of this campaign on a late night talk show, Biden tried to turn his missteps into laughs, but he was pressed pretty hard on this and insisted that his gaffes are not substantive. Overnight, Joe Biden tried to shake off his campaign missteps with a little humor.
In the last few weeks, you've confused New Hampshire for Vermont, said Bobby Kennedy and MLK were assassinated in the late 70s, assured us I'm not going nuts. Follow-up question, are you going nuts?
Look, the reason I came on the Jimmy Kimmel Show is because I'm not.
The self-proclaimed gaffe machine downplaying his recent misstatements.
Any gaffe that I have made, and I've made gaffes like every politician I know has, have been not about a substantive issue, been about I'm trying to talk about what other people have done.
And Biden pushed back on a Washington Post report that he has been telling a false military story out on the campaign trail.
The essence of it is absolutely true. I made the case that these folks are heroes and we should treat them as that.
The early frontrunner insists he's looking ahead and even joked about his potential running mate.
Have you asked Michelle Obama for advice?
Only to be my vice president. I've been asking her.
Now, Biden says it is fair for the media to point out his gaffes, but says that his mistakes are largely trivial, especially when compared to the president's and what Biden says are Trump's mistaken policies. Robin.
Got it, Mary. Thank you. We'll be on top of all the political news as the campaign season really ramps up. A reminder, you can see the next Democratic debate 1 week from tonight, Thursday, September 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC. George, you're going to be there. Lindsey Davis will be there. David Muir will be.
Jorge.
That's right.
Ramos from Univision.
Okay.
I'll be there in spirit. It'll be at Texas Southern, my old stomping ground, my college, yeah. We're going to turn now. We're going to go overseas to the growing political chaos in the UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is now basically at war with his own parliament, even his own brother resigning just moments ago. Foreign correspondent James Longman is in London with the very latest. And James, it looks like the whole world is watching a full-on government meltdown.
Yeah, that's right, Michael. Good morning. Things have gone from bad to worse for Donald Trump's favourite foreign leader, Boris Johnson. And actually, as you say, in the last few minutes, we've heard his own brother, also a politician, has quit the government, saying he's torn between family loyalty and the national interest. Johnson now wants a new election to get his no-deal Brexit through, but UK lawmakers now won't vote for one. And because he's lost his ruling majority here in Parliament, it's the opposition parties who are all running the Brexit process now. He's effectively become a lame duck prime minister. Opposition lawmakers are being called cowards for refusing that election. They think by stalling them, they can keep Johnson effectively powerless. Their strategy is to force him to ask for a 3-month extension to the Brexit deadline. That takes it from October 31st to January 31st. But Johnson has said he won't do that. So then what happens next? Well, that's anyone's guess. Meanwhile, the impact of no deal is very much looming. Experts say it could hit US and global economies hard. And by the way, Vice President Pence is due to meet with Johnson today. But as one Twitter user put it, that's like having guests round to your house when it's on fire. Robin?
My goodness. All right. Thank you, James. Now to a major new lawsuit against Lyft, accusing a company of not doing enough about an alleged sexual predator crisis. 14 women say they have been sexually assaulted by drivers. Amy's here with that story for us. Good morning, Amy.
Yeah, this is a concerning story indeed. The suit claims that Lyft failed to protect passengers and then adequately respond to those reports of abuse.
It's becoming more and more apparent that Lyft can't be trusted to police themselves.
Lyft, one of the largest ride-hailing companies in the country, now being accused in a new lawsuit of turning a blind eye to a, quote, sexual predator crisis among its drivers.
When people go places with Lyft, safety is built into every ride.
The complaint was filed Wednesday from 14 women who claimed they were sexually assaulted by their drivers.
So they knew about this issue, but they've done nothing about it. They chose to do nothing about it.
The filing claims that Lyft has known about incidents of sexual assault going back to 2015, but has continued to allow drivers who have complaints of rape and sexual assault to keep driving for Lyft.
My safety was violated, and the consequences affect me every day, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I am overwhelmed with grief by Lyft's negligence to keep its riders safe.
One of the women in the lawsuit, named Kim, says she was sexually assaulted by a driver in Salt Lake City back in December 2018. She reported the man to Lyft that same day, but over the span of 9 months, she says the company contacted her just 4 times and failed to update her on the status of its investigation. She says police told her the driver continued to work for Lyft while the criminal case against him was pending. In a statement, Lyft says, in part, what the victims describe as terrifying and has no place in the Lyft community, adding, we hold ourselves to a higher standard by designing products and policies to keep out bad actors, make riders and drivers feel safe, and react quickly if and when an incident does occur.
And Lyft went on to say, our commitment is stronger than ever as we dedicate more resources in our continued effort to ensure our riders and drivers have the safest possible experience. They're also promising that in a couple of weeks, all passengers will have an in-app emergency button they can use to call 911. Right now, about half of riders have that on their phone, so that could make a big difference in terms if you're in a scary situation in a Lyft car.
It sure could. It's a good idea. Amy, thanks very much. We're going to take a look now at the Southern California wildfire that has scorched more than 1,000 acres near San Diego. The Tahana fire expanded rapidly overnight, forcing families to evacuate through the smoke and the flames. Schools are closed there this morning. Officials say the fire is only 5% contained. Yeah, it's really something out there. We're following a lot of other stories this morning, including a backlash from fans over Scarlett Johansson she's facing after defending Woody Allen. And the woman right there, her estranged husband, investigators say they found evidence in her co-worker's car.
So we'll have much more on that, but first let's get back down to Ginger, who's there in South Carolina. Ginger.
And Robin, another tornado was just reported in North Myrtle Beach. I just saw a video of it. We're going to try to share that with you, but it's raining again, and we've got flash flood warnings and watches all the way from the coastal South Carolina up through Virginia and Maryland. We could expect 10 to 15 inches in some pockets today. Let's get to the Windy Cities now, brought to you by Walmart.
Get everything you need to go back big at the low prices you love and get your teacher school supply list with the Walmart app.
A comfortable start today, but cloud cover is going to thicken and lower across the area. Not expecting much in the way of any showers until very late in the day, but look at your temperatures. Had 90s yesterday, record heat. Today about 77 to 78 degrees during the afternoon hours. And tomorrow will be even cooler as Dorian accelerates off the Atlantic out to sea. We'll have breezy showers coming through the day, especially during the morning hours until afternoon. 75. Beautiful weekend, though.
I'm going to wish my sweet Amber a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Amber.
We'll be back.
This is the age of expression. Everyone has something to say. But in a world full of talking,